Doom: The Dark Ages. ID Software has revealed new gameplay and announced the release date for the brutal shooter Doom: The Dark Ages. The game will be available on May 15th for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. This will be a prequel to Doom 2016, in which we will learn the story of the fall of the protagonist's homeland, known as the Warrior or the Executioner of Rock, or simply Doom Guy. The events will unfold long before he arrived on Mars and stopped the demon invasion into our reality. The new game will shed light on the origins of one of the main characters in first-person shooters, and it will answer many questions. The developers promise us an extensive arsenal of weapons, huge locations, as well as the ability to fly on a dragon and control a massive robot. The game is already available for pre-order. The standard edition on Steam costs $70. But the game will also be available on Xbox Game Pass right on the release day. And once again, friends, the game will be available on May 15th for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. The game called Ninja Gaiden 4. The Xbox Developer Direct show started with the presentation of that very secret game. And the rumors that promised a continuation of a certain legendary Japanese franchise have been completely confirmed today. What we already know is that at the Microsoft show, Team Ninja and the publisher KOI Tecmo announced Ninja Gaiden 4. This will be a continuation of the cult action series that set the trend for extremely challenging, fast-paced games. Fans of brutal slashers can't help but be pleased with the fact that the well-known Japanese studio Platinum Games has joined the development. These guys created iconic games like Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, and Nier, Automata, and so on. The style of the famous studio is evident in every frame. The battles look incredibly spectacular. Dynamic and diverse, gamers will have not only a huge number of combat skills, but also two completely different protagonists. Ninja Gaiden 4 is coming out this fall in 2025 for Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. And by the way, the game will be available on Xbox Game Pass right on the release day. The game is called Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake. Rumors about the remake of one of the most popular games in the Assassin's Creed series, Black Flag, have been gaining more and more attention in recent months. New information from insider sources has added fuel to the fire. We've learned that Ubisoft may have already started the playtest phase of the project. This could be a sign of preparations for an upcoming official announcement. Ubisoft reportedly sent out surveys about Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which many fans took as bullshit. This is indirect confirmation of active work on the remake. There were already rumors that the project is being developed on an updated version of the Anvil engine and includes significant improvements, such as a new combat system inspired by the mechanics of Souls-like games, revamped stealth mechanics, and the addition of realistic ecosystems. It is noteworthy that this is against the background of the delay in the release. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the new installment in the series, scheduled for March 2025. Some analysts suggested that the Black Flag remake might be pushed to 2026. However, fresh rumors hint that Ubisoft is still aiming to release the updated pirate action game in 2025. I understand that they just want to play it safe and create a safety net for themselves, just in case Assassin's Creed Shadows fails in sales. So, despite the growing interest in the project, Ubisoft hasn't made any official statements yet. Previous rumors have pointed to possible major changes to the gameplay, including a reworked combat system and an improved open world. If we believe these insights, the project will not just be a remaster, but a complete reimagining of the original game. Well, time will tell. The First Berserker Khazan. As promised, the South Korean studio Neopol has released a demo version of its ambitious XNRPG, the First Berserker Khazan. The demo is available on all target platforms, and it's clarified that the demo won't be available forever, and over time the developers will simply remove it. However, the exact end date for the demo hasn't been determined yet. So friends, if you definitely like the game, you can try playing the free demo version. Why not? The demo version, weighing in at 30 gigabytes, offers 2 initial missions with a total duration of 3 to 4 hours. During the gameplay, players are encouraged to master the core mechanics. The focus is specifically on dynamic battles in the Souls-like style. The developers also allow you to save all your progress, which can then be transferred to the release version and continued from that point, where you left off in the demo. Let me remind you the plot of the new title in the universe. Dungeon Fighter tells the story of the legendary General Khazan, who, after experiencing betrayal, is determined to clear his name and take revenge on the traitors. The First Berserker Khazan is coming out on March 27, 2021. Coming to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S with Russian text localization. The game is called Forest Reigns. The studio VG Entertainment has announced its new project. This is a story-driven first-person shooter called Forest Reigns. The core of the development team consists of former members from GSC Game World who have worked on the first part of STLKER. The studio VG Entertainment has previously released multiplayer games like Servarium and Fear the Wolves. Forest Reigns will offer survival in a post-apocalyptic Paris, which is covered in wild forest and filled with dangerous animals. The game will have a non-linear narrative with multiple missions. Every choice will impact the story and the ending of the game. One of the key features will be the interactive environment. You can explore the dangerous game world alone or with other players in this immersive experience. You will be able to cooperate or even compete with different factions. We are promised a realistic environment and extensive options for upgrading and customizing weapons. Forest Reigns is done in a vibrant style. By the way, the minimum system requirements are already listed on the Steam page. And don't be surprised, friends, but you'll need at least an RTX 3060 to play this game. As for the release date, nothing is known yet. Claire Ebscor Expedition 33. The RPG event unfolds in a world afflicted by an unusual plague. Once a year, a mystical creature known as the Artist awakens from its slumber and paints on a magical monolith. The number... and those whose age matches this number die, turning to dust. Year after year, the monster destroys people, starting with the Elders, and soon it will be number 33's turn. The player will lead Expedition 33, which set out on a mission to put an end to the Artist once and for all. The developers promise an unusual aesthetic, blending turn-based combat in the style of Japanese RPGs, and mechanics tied to real-time actions, as well as unique opponents and an unusual setting. We can also expect a squad of up to 6 characters, the ability to create unique builds by combining skills, attributes, equipment, and character synergy. The game will feature a free and active combat system. Despite the turn-based combat mode, players can dodge, parry, and counterattack in real time, reacting to the actions of the opponents. How they implement it, turn-based combat in real time, but it's really, interesting. The game will be released on PC, Xbox Series, and PlayStation 5 on April 24, 2025. The game called Jackal is from the studio Transhuman Design, known for indie games like King Arthur's Gold. The Maniac, Soldiers, announced a new project. It turned out to be a brutal top-down shooter called Jackal. This game will tell the story of a killer from Las Vegas who challenged the crime bosses. Players will have to navigate through procedurally generated levels, where the enemy placements change each time. You will participate in intense, bloody, and chaotic shootouts using firearms and melee weapons, and also unlock various upgrades, enhancements, and features that affect gameplay. You'll have access to additional and exciting features like slow motion, dual pistols, and more. According to the developers, the project is inspired by games like Hotline Miami, Superhot, and John Wick. The developers haven't announced a release date yet, but the game is already available on Steam, so if you're interested in the game, add it to your wish list so you don't forget about it. Black Steam, an independent studio called Motion Blur, has presented new gameplay for the project Black Steam. This is the first demo video of the game since the announcement, which was back in July 2024. The project is clearly inspired by the iconic Metal Gear Solid series, as evidenced by the character design and environment. But it wasn't just this series that influenced the developers. The game features elements from The Last of Us and Uncharted. In Black Steam, players will become a soldier investigating a mysterious incident related to the disappearance of a scientist. The project will have a tense storyline, elements of exploration, and a struggle for survival. The game, built on the Unreal Engine 5, will feature spectacular locations with rich decor and high-quality lighting effects. The combat mechanics are more focused on stealth, and the enemies will be soldiers with telekinesis. Players will be able to take advantage of a diverse arsenal of weapons, including classic assault rifles and more unusual devices like stun rockets. The release date for Black Steam is set for the end of 2025. Friends, I recently wondered why Steam still hasn't introduced a monthly subscription. For example, with Xbox Game Pass, you pay for a month of subscription and get to try all the available games on Steam. So, it turns out that such a service already exists. It's called Steam Pass. It offers a huge selection of games that are constantly updated with new titles, and the subscription includes more than 1,000 games. Plus, it includes famous games, including new releases as well. In general, as I mentioned earlier, it's a complete analog of Xbox Game Pass. Only on Steam, play exclusively licensed games, and new releases appear here right on the day of their launch. And the most important thing is that it's extremely reliable and safe. No viruses or torrents for you. Well, as for me, this is the most important plus for me personally. I can try the game without worrying that I won't like it and will have to get my money back. And that's not the easiest process these days. Friends, Here, I can definitely make up my mind. Do I want this game in my collection or not? Another huge plus of the Steam Pass service is that there are absolutely no regional restrictions. Play games that are not even available in Russia with peace of mind. So friends, who among you wants to get access to the entire Steam library for the lowest price possible? I left a link to the Steam Pass service in the description below this video, Phantom Black Zero. After the success of Black Knight's Wukong, Chinese investors turned their attention to local game studios. One of the most anticipated games is Phantom Black Zero from the studio With Game. According to rumors, the project will receive significant funding, indicating high expectations. Black Miss Wukong sold over 20 million copies, proving that local studios can create high-budget global hits. Investors, inspired by this success, have actively started to support Phantom Black Zero, which promises to become a global phenomenon in the entire gaming industry. The events of the action take place in a universe with elements of kung fu, steampunk, occultism, and fantasy. The main character is Sul, an elite assassin who serves a mysterious organization called the Order. The protagonist is accused of murdering the Patriarch of the Order and is mortally wounded during the battle. The main character is brought back to life, but the treatment only lasts for 66 days. During this time, he must find and kill the person who set him up. When creating the combat system, the studio was inspired by kung fu movies from the 90s. The authors also say that big fans of action games like Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden also like Phantom Black Zero. They don't want to include it, since the priority is spectacular gameplay and action, like God of War. They are complex and slow, featuring tactical battles with enemies, like in Souls-like games. The developers want to make a simple, intuitive combat system that does not require the player to memorize a lot of complicated, unclear combinations. Phantom Black Zero is set to be released in 2025 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S with Russian text localization. The game is called Minsk. Minsk is an adventure game in the survival horror genre from a third-person perspective set in a dark post-apocalyptic world. You will play as a robot who is the last hope for the survival of its creator. With a strong emphasis on storytelling, this game immerses players in a captivating plot, promising tension, danger, and emotional depth. Your task is to explore dangerous territories, solve various puzzles, and fight against mutants and hostile robots, to ultimately save its creator and find a way to meet other survivors. Guide your robot through a dark and dangerous world, uncovering an emotional story of survival, hope, and love. There is a system of interaction between the human and the robot. A person sends messages to help the robot navigate through its tasks. High-quality graphics and sound immerse the player in the atmosphere of a ruined world with detailed urban landscapes and intense music. The player's decisions will directly impact the development of the story, offering a variety of endings to the game. The exact release date is still unknown. The game is called Black Frost: The Long Dark 2. At the Game Awards 2024, Black Frost: The Long Dark 2 was announced, which will be available in early access in 2026. The continuation of the popular survival simulator has received a more diverse color palette and, importantly, support for cooperative gameplay. Despite the distant release date, the game can already be added to your wishlist on Steam. The game will feature the ability to create your own character, customize their traits and skills, and collect scars of history. The developers emphasize that Black Frost will be the first game originally designed as a survival RPG. They are just a game with survival elements. The events of Long Dark 2 will unfold in a world with 19th century level technologies due to the effects of the Northern Lights. The game will add a psychological element of survival and more natural threats than in the original. There will also be a new approach to character death, although the classic mode with full death will still be available. So the full release might only be by the end of 2026. Or even at the beginning of 2027. The game is called Game of Thrones King's Road. At the Game Awards 2024, Walker Brothers and HBO officially introduced Game of Thrones King's Road, a new game set in the world of Game of Thrones. The project is based on the 4th season of the series and is an MMORPG with a huge open world, combining elements of role-playing, narrative, and moral choices. Players will explore familiar locations in Westeros and engage in various activities. The game will support single-player and multiplayer gameplay, not shying away from violent scenes, fights, and bold sexual themes, emphasizing the dark nature of the universe. The events will be closely tied to the reality of the 4th season of the series Game of Thrones, offering interactions with well-known characters and making decisions that will affect the course of the plot. Essentially, the 4th season, this time you will be writing it yourself. The developers emphasize that Game of Thrones King's Road will offer a rich combat system. Moral decisions and exploration allow players to take on the role of full-fledged participants in the political intrigues of Westeros. The official release date has not been announced yet. It is only known that the game will be released in 2025 on PC, and the most interesting part is that the game will be available on iOS and Android. The Blood of Dan Walker. The studio Rebel Wolves, founded by former developers from CD Projekt Red, has unveiled the trailer for their debut game, The Blood of Dan Walker. The project promises to be a new word in the dark fantasy and action RPG genre, offering a deep lore and an original approach to the vampire theme. The Blood of Dawnwalker will transport players to an alternate medieval Europe, inspired by Roman and Balkan cultures. Players will dive into a world where plague, war, and the eternal conflict between humans and vampires reign. We're in for a treat. A completely open world, handcrafted without content generation. It has a style reminiscent of The Witcher 3, but with more dynamic gameplay that depends on the time of day. A deep lore where vampires are not just villains, but complex characters with moral ambiguity. For example, they can heal the plague, but they refrain from doing so for their personal reasons. Dawnwalkers are a unique race of half humans and half vampires. During the day, they lead a normal life, and at night they turn into vampires. With specific abilities, the main character is a character named Khon. He is something in between a vampire and a human. During the day, the hero fights with cold weapons like a witcher, while at night he can use vampire abilities. In the story, Khon has to save his loved ones from a vampire, but he will have only 30 days and 30 nights to do it. Players will also have to face the choice of which direction to lean the hero. Khon has to save his loved ones from save his human identity or embrace the dark essence. Here, you'll be the one making the decisions. The game, being developed on Unreal Engine 5, will be the first part of a trilogy. Despite a relatively modest budget of $70 million, the developers promise a quality approach and a complete absence of live service elements, NFT, or any microtransactions. This will be a pure single-player experience. The exact release date has not been announced yet, but this summer, the developers plan to showcase detailed gameplay. According to preliminary estimates, the game's release could happen as early as the end of this year, or at the beginning of 2026. Considering the team's experience and ambitious plans, The Blood of Dan Walker promises to be one of the most anticipated projects in the RPG genre. And many are already joking and calling this game, so to speak, the right Witcher. Well, the year in the gaming industry starts off with some good news. The game will be available on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series. Thrones Odyssey. The South Korean studio Npixel has unveiled an impressive gameplay trailer for their MMORPG built on Unreal, Oran, and Engine 5. This game was first announced back in December 2020, when Npixel shared the trailer with us. However, this time there are many more details. In particular, the developers revealed the list of gaming platforms that will receive this game. And, apparently friends, this is going to be a very graphically impressive multiplayer game with a huge open world. And most importantly, the world will be completely seamless, without any loading screens during travels. The project will feature dynamic combat, as well as various mechanics. Well, for example, raids with 100 real players, and the studio even promises a stunning and deep storyline. Of course, that's quite a bold statement, but as they say, time will tell. In short, the game will be made in the spirit of South Korean MMOs. Thrones Odyssey is coming to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series. The release date has not been announced yet, but there are rumors that the release will take place in early 2025. And the best news is that the developers immediately stated that the game won't be a gacha pay-to-win mess. So there will be donations in the game, of course, but they won't affect the gameplay at all. You will only be able to purchase items that are purely cosmetic with donations. In general, I hope that's how it will be. And we weren't deceived. I don't know about you guys, but the game managed to catch my interest. We're looking forward to more news about this quite interesting project.